Okay, I am just testing this to see if it's actually working, if anyone can see this or not, because I'm having quite a lot of problems with YouTube. So I don't know what the issue is currently, but I'm gonna try to fix it. Right, let's see. Nope. Copy. Right. I don't know if this is working. I don't know if people can see me or hear me. So if someone is watching and you could let me know, that would be great. Because the everything has dropped on me like several times. So if you can see me, hear me, something, please say something in the chat. Please let me know that you're there because, yeah, I am not entirely sure if the internet is liking me or not. So I'm just gonna give it a second or two, and yeah, because if it's not working, obviously we're not gonna move along. But if you can hear me or see me, please let me know. Someone say something. That would be. I will drop a message in the chat. Oh my God, Natalie! Yes, thank you. Yes, so I am very sorry. I don't know if people are still in the original link. If that's the case, if someone could let them know, YouTube would not connect on the original link, so I just had to restart it. So thank you for letting me know. And well, I'm gonna. Amount of wind has just lifted as well, as I'm sure you'll realize. And let's see if we can salvage this. Right. Okay. Well. Oh, blimey. Well, how are we doing then? So, Natalie can see me. Excellent. Hopefully, I can see. Oh, I can see there is 4 people now. Something actually clicked in, and I've been told that we're there. So yeah, if you were looking for the tour in the original link is not working, if there is somebody, or if you could go into the other link and let people know that we are here, that would be great. Thank you so much for letting me know you can hear me and see me. As you can see, I have a new microphone. Wind is coming out. Anyway, it's been challenging today, let's just say that, but here we are. So I'm going to explain briefly what I'm going to try to do if the wind actually lets me move from here, because it's gotten really fierce all of a sudden. So we're actually in the area of Granary Square. We're in King's Cross, an area that is not very touristy at all, but it is actually one of my favorite areas. So I'm hoping to show you around the Royal Canal, to King's Cross, St. Pancras. That's the idea. So if you're into Harry Potter and that kind of stuff, that's hopefully where we will end up. And don't worry, Natalie, I had the sneaky impression that it may have just broken altogether and it may not be viable. And you know, it's a weird thing. Sometimes that happens when you schedule a tour like really far ahead in advance. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't like the stream link. But anyway, you know, here we are, and I'm sure people will eventually hopefully catch on, because I've put a couple of public announcements on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'll hope that people will be able to make the move and be here. Well, excellent. I'm gonna start turning the camera around though, so we can start seeing things other than just my face. That would be great. So like I said, we're in the area of Granary Square. We are just north of King's Cross, in the area of what used to be the industrial new development of the city of London. All of this area that you see here now has actually turned up into a very sort of hip up and coming shop, eat, drink, and makers kind of space. It's continued using a lot of the historical buildings. So a lot of the areas around here used to be all factories, and obviously Granary Square, as the name represents, was actually part of one of the granary supplies that we had in this area of London. Because, well, the area of King's Cross is going to suffer a huge development during the time of the Industrial Revolution. In fact, the majority of this area of London actually developed from the 18th century onwards. It took a while for the city to essentially move away from what we now consider the main city center of London, and that's the reason why a lot of people actually in here when they come visit the city of London, because they don't consider it a touristic space, and in reality it's not. Oh, no worries, Tish and Triste, thank you so much for being here, and I'm very sorry that the first link completely failed me. YouTube was having a tantrum, the wind came through and the signal was not playing ball, but I'm glad that you guys managed to find your way here. So just very quickly, for those of you who may have just arrived, we are in the area of Granary Square. We're just on the borough of Camden, because we're actually not really properly in the city center anymore, even though it is considered part of the city center of London. And the reason why I wanted to bring you here is because, although quite busy, and you will realize why this area is quite busy in a moment, this is not very touristic, but yet I feel that it's an area with a lot of charm. Now, it's not gonna be a very history heavy kind of tour. I mostly kind of wanted to bring you here for the vibe and for some of the sites, because what I'm walking towards now is actually, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful areas of London, which is the Regent's Canal. And I'm so glad that Natalie actually redirected you guys here, because yeah, it's been great help. So thank you so much for coping with the technology, essentially. Well, so as you can see, this is actually a very important building. This is Central St. Martin's. It's actually one of the most important, I guess, creative school of arts here in London. It has a huge reputation for textile development, which makes sense considering the space that we're in, like I said, full of studios and creator maker spaces, but also for the development of graphic art, comic books, etc., etc. And here as well, in this area of London, for Eid and for certain Hindu celebrations, we have huge gatherings, because as you can see, this is a beautiful square. No worries, Pali. I was just mentioning there was a huge glitch on YouTube. For some reason, sometimes when you connect YouTube into a live stream, several weeks in advance or whatever, it just doesn't like it, and it has a few problems. So this is the main central square here. But what I really wanted to show you, and what the main point of today was, is to take you down to the, which I think is a very lovely area of London. So let me move away, because I can't tell if the water is spraying me or if it's starting to rain. And if it's starting to rain, I'm just gonna quit right there. But as you can see, it's an interesting area of contrast, because we have here these buildings that start being developed during Georgian and Victorian times in that very sort of industrial space, against the new development all around the area of King's Cross. King's Cross has become a very important place for finance development. We have some of the most important finance and tech companies around here. There is an office for Google. There is an office, funnily enough, for YouTube, Samsung, big people like that. So that is where the space of contrast in this area is. And yes, Emma, you're in the right place. Thank you so much. The original link completely betrayed us. So thank you so much for being here. And well, right on the edge and crossing from the old to the new, we have the beautiful area of the canal. So we're not gonna walk the whole canal, because we could be here forever and ever and ever. And I mean, it's a lovely walk. And if you have the chance to come here to London and see this, I genuinely encourage you to come over here. But we're gonna walk a tiny bit of the canal, because I also love the boathouse. And this is becoming quite a popular thing to do in London. It kind of always has been, to around this area, to have little boathouses like this one that you see here. But it's actually becoming more and more of a thing, because I'm sure that you guys know, trying to have real estate in London is an absolute nightmare. It's super, super expensive. So the boathouse have kind of become one of those, I guess, alternatives to the housing crisis that we have, not just in this country but in the city particularly. Oh, yes, it is horrible avoiding those water spouts. Indeed, you cannot really tell if they are, having a tantrum or if it's actually pouring on you. Well, there is actually, all of these are not necessarily just houses, by the way. Some of these are also businesses. There are a couple of bars and a couple of shops that are actually run off the boats. And I don't know, you can see the difference between this very luxurious one, Queen Vic number one, this tiny old school boathouse that you can see a little bit of smoke coming out of it. Well, as you can see, it's quite quiet in here, even though it's super busy upstairs, which is also not typical sort of British winter day, grey skies, wind, kind of, it's kind of the drill. I also think that going through the bridge may have affected the signal a little bit, so please do let me know if it gets a little nasty. But at the end of the day, this is typically how the weather is here. I can guarantee you, though, that on a nice summer or even spring afternoon, this area is lovely. Instead of having to deal with the masses of people that can accumulate between, let's just say, Waterloo to Covent Garden, you come here, you enjoy a little bit of this tranquility, and you can eat almost anywhere. So that's what I like this area. Now, we will end up going up the stairs again and back around, so we're gonna do a little bit of a double take, but it's the only way that obviously we can cross the canal, because otherwise, I don't think we particularly want to take a swim, and I am not up for that. I have to give this less than a few hours. And just so you can see what I was commenting about the price of real estate, can you see? For sale, £37,000. You would not be able to get anything in this city for that amount of money. So that's the reason why people are kind of starting to see this as an alternative. Well, the wind is getting a bit nastier and it's actually starting to bother me and concern me. So please do let me know if at any point this gets a bit bad. But this is one of my favorite places over here, Ward on the Water. This is actually a bookstore. So the inside of the ship is actually a shop, and then here they do little poetry readings, they do music, they do stand-ups and all kinds of things, and it's really cool. This shop has also been here for donkey's years, and they do second-hand books as well as ordinary book sort of things. Oh, and yes, as Ruth to live on a boat as well, but I don't know if I would get boat sick in that regard. But as you can see, there's all types of things and people that have made the Regent's Canal. Just trying to decide which staircase we're gonna take to start heading back. Particularly because I'm also aware that the wind here is not so good, and I don't know the impact that may be having into the internet connection. It didn't let me connect several times, and I suspect that was the reason why. So I'm gonna try to get us back upstairs. But well, hopefully you get at least a slice of what the canal boat life is like. And well, I also wanted to thank you all for joining me here today. It's been quite a roller coaster of a month, so I'm quite happy that I get to share a piece of London that I really enjoy with you guys. All nasty circumstances considered and all technical difficulties, because well, as some of you may know, I'm about to give a very important paper at the Institute for Historical Research at, I have to be there at 5 p.m. The talk doesn't start until 5:30. And it's actually something that I've been waiting for my whole life. So this is also a reason, because I didn't know where exactly we were going to end up as well. There's also been problems with train strikes, etc., etc. And yes, it's been a horrible month. Yes, yes, Bob. Well, the wind is out again. I'm honestly, this is, when things like this happen, I have a lot of respect for you guys because you put up with all sorts of things, but when things like this happen, they really, really frustrate us. Well, we're now next to one of the art fund areas for St. Martin's here. And I just wanted to show you before we move out um, this little area, which is normally an open market, but today there is no market out. I just love the little stars and the lights, which I think are very lovely. And I thought that perhaps you may want to see them. I think it's one of the coolest entrances to Waitrose. For those of you who may not know what a Waitrose is, it's actually a quite posh supermarket here in the UK. Let's just say they are the upper end of the scale. Marks and Spencers and Waitrose, that's it. And oh my God, thank you, Melissa, is very kind. And yes, it is the wind, and it really came out all of a sudden. It was absolutely fine. But that's the typical thing, you know. Seems like the conditions, and it's very difficult to actually amend on the spot. That's the main issue that we have when we do this on things like YouTube. And even if I'm doing all of this through Prism, by the way, in case you're wondering. It's not. But anyway, I am aware that we started late because of the stream failed and the wind is coming out, and I don't know if it's actually going to end up raining on us. So I'm going to try to get us guys over to the area of King Cross and Pancras. So at the very least, you can get to enjoy the beautiful Victorian architecture of St. Pancras International Station. So we're going to walk down one of these roads. I think we're actually going to take the Red Bridge. If we go nearby the construction, that will affect the internet even more so. So we're gonna do that. And I find it hilarious. I know, right? I just think, it's a nice way to go anywhere. The lovely entrance, but particularly the fact that it's a Waitrose, it just really caught me by surprise. And they do change the decoration in there quite a lot because since UAL, University of Arts London, is quite a big artistic hub, they do love making this really a nice space that comes up to life. Really, Triste? I didn't know that. That's amazing. We're actually not very far away from there. I think actually I came up that way when I was coming up. And well, from here, from the top of the bridge as well, I'll give you some views on either side of the canal, so you can see. Right, let me sort of get to the center. I really like these ones, which are a bit farther to the side, a bit tucked away. And as you can see, again, not many people kind of come around here, so it ends up being quite a quiet area and quite peaceful. Thing is, because this is such an important place as well for shopping and things like that, at times like lunchtime and whatnot, it can become quite busy because everybody wants to get some of the nice foods that you can get over in the maker and creator space, craft coffee, artisanal bread, that kind of stuff. Oh, that's lovely. A semester over here. That must have been very nice. I helped install. Oh my God, no way. That's amazing. I remember those. They were beautiful. The Lumiere London exhibits. They were absolutely gorgeous. I mean, yes, it's going a few years back before the pandemic, but wow. I'm very jealous of you guys. I always thought, well, I would have loved to come and study here and live here, but London requires a budget that unfortunately I do not have. But that's besides the point. Right, so now we're gonna cross just over here. Never mind the ugly street signs. We're just gonna go down the side and then out towards King's Cross. Right, okay. Now, one of the other reasons why I love this area here is because you can eat so many delicious, yummy things. In fact, one of my favorite restaurants, which is a Korean restaurant, Kimchi, is just nearby. And if we see it, I'll point it out. And if you want, I can give you recommendations of what to eat. It's also an area where you will find a lot of sort of expensive, snazzy kind of shops, and that's because, like I said, we are in the middle of another secondary financial center, mostly for the development of tech in this case. So I think it's in one of these two buildings. You're gonna see a huge sign for Google. I'll show you when we get there. But it's not as busy as with the city, for example. So at least you get to, you get to experience London without having to deal with the crazy amount of suits coming in and out of each building. Hey, Ronnie, how are you? Thank you so much for coming here. And yes, it is very, I promise you, if you come over here sort of in March to April time, you know the cherry blossoms in Japan. We actually have a few blossoms here. They are not all cherry, some of them are apple, but it's a beautiful area to actually walk around in the spring because all of this just sprouts full of life and it's just wonderful. Obviously, right now they don't have anything on them, but I think you can probably use your imagination to realize this is actually a very pretty place. Yes, no, it was, yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure, Triste. And this is my favorite restaurant. This is Kimchi. I used to actually eat in the other one that they had in Holborn because it was a bit more convenient for me. Coming up here to King's Cross is not difficult. We're about a 20-minute walk from the British Museum, which is roughly the direction I have to go for my talk. But it's not necessary in the spring. And there you can see, of course, the headquarters for Google, and over there I'm sure you can see the little symbol of YouTube. So like I said, this is an important area for the tech industry. Well, we're gonna carry on walking down, and yes, it is a lovely restaurant. I like eating in places that are authentic. And the moment when I went there and realized a lot of Korean people were eating there, and not just Korean people, but people from other Asian cultures, and they were quite happy with the menu, I thought to myself, well, this must be all right. And I tried it, and it was more than all right. So, very quickly. Well, the wind is coming out again, and the problem here is that we don't really have a lot of refuge because this kind of buildings just create like a huge wind tunnel. So I'm gonna try to take us out of the major wind exposure, but it's actually quite problematic. It's not the Google store. It's actually it's part of their headquarters, Astrid. Yes, it is. So there you have it. Right. So we are now approaching the area of King's Cross, properly speaking, and St. Pancras, which is going to get a lot busier, is going to get a lot noisier as well, by the way, because there is some construction happening just off on the side of the railway station. But there is also a very interesting art installation here, which I saw on my way up. There is always one here, and they try to change it every so often. But there you go. And this is visualizing AI, expanding our vision of what AI looks like. And it's, I don't know, I wish I had a better eye for this kind of modern artistic things. Oh, no worries, Natalie. See you soon. Thank you so much for being here and for helping people redirect to the new link. Much appreciated, lovely. Well, if it speaks to you, then it speaks to you more than it speaks to me. I don't really see much more in here other than just lighting. But I think I get what they're getting at. AI is really taking over the world. It's gonna start shaping history. And well, something to consider. Meanwhile, I much more prefer looking at beautiful buildings like this. This is the gymnasium. It's actually a restaurant, but in the 19th century, it was a very important German gym where people actually came to train for bodybuilding, which I think is wonderful. So it's a funny thing how these things go. And yes, I'm gonna try and move us along further to St. Pancras, because between the wind and this construction work happening here, I think YouTube is really not terribly happy with us. And for that, I do apologize. It's one of those things that is hard to ascertain sometimes. And yes, it is fun and full of color. The problem is I cannot really make much more of it other than just the color, if you see what I mean. But I think it's a nice thing. And this is, like I said, the entrance to that German gymnasium, now just a restaurant. And there, I think we can frame that light installation over there. There we go. Yes, it's actually, by the way, in case you're wondering, it is sponsored by Google because their headquarters is just over there. But there we go. Right. Well, we're just gonna now try to cross over so I can show you the main front end of St. Pancras. Now, normally I would just go through the middle of the train station, but that is where we're gonna find most likely most of the signal interferences, and therefore I don't particularly want to do that. So instead, we're gonna go a little bit through the edge. If we manage to do that as well, it's quite likely that the King's Cross market may still be open, and you get to see some nice, tasty things. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to do that. Jack's birdcage isn't lit anymore. No, they've actually just put. I don't know if you can see it now. If I turn back, it used to be, and now they've changed it into like a little swing. So I don't know, but that's something very recent. It was actually lit during the pandemic. So I think it's just something that they've changed in sort of recent times. And well, here you have your typical London cabs, by the way, although this is not a black one. This is obviously one of those that has lots of promos, which is quite rare actually, to be able to find a proper London cab without any promo on them, because the price of these things have gotten quite high again. We have now so much competition, Uber, Lyft, etc., etc. So it's another way of actually using the transport of London for the benefit, I guess, of the city and the tourists. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with it, but there we go. Right, okay, I'm gonna get us now through here, and bear with, because we need to get past this area, which, as you can see, is very busy with all of these cabs coming and going. Because, of course, this lovely building, which I'm sure many of you would instantly recognize, is the famous St. Pancras International Station. Previously, it was just known as St. Pancras, but it was actually renamed recently because, well, this is actually one of our main links to the European trains that go over to France. And actually, the Eurostar is going to be departing from London, not just over to Paris. It's going to be making it all the way to Germany, to Berlin. I think it's actually going to be doing later on this spring in quite a fast amount of time. But we're going to be able to get a better sight of St. Pancras in just one moment here from King's Cross Square. Now, many people ask me why it's called King's Cross, and so of course, there is nothing here that resembles a cross. It's because of a monument that was actually erected here to King George the Fourth, I think. I could be wrong. It's either fourth or sixth, and there is quite a big difference and jump between the two of them, so don't quote me on that one, but I'm confident it was King George the Fourth. Unfortunately, all of that gets destroyed later on for the new redevelopment of the area, and the market is actually on, so I'm gonna see if I can get us close to it. But this is the entrance to King's Cross train station, which actually in the Harry Potter movies got reappropriated with St. Pancras, because, well, they're next to each other, but they are not the same train station. They are connected, but they are not the same train station. And here you have, yes, well, part of the food market, which is one of the greatest things that I love about London. You can just come and eat anything and everything. So we have baked goods, pie. Those pies actually look real good. And a sausage roll, which is, typical of the UK. Biltong, which has become really popular. We have a big South African community here as well. So a lot of their foods have now become part of our foods, I guess. I think we could just stop here for coffee and actually be done with the rest of the tour. I'll be quite happy. I know there is a few cheese lovers, so delight yourself. Wow, that's a good slice of red Leicester, that is. Local produce. And well, that's the sort of thing that we can see here quite often. It's not always a food market, by the way. Sometimes there is arts and crafts, but you get the impression and the general feeling of what this is trying to achieve. Well, we are now gonna just take a turn here so I can take you to the more visible area of St. Pancras, so we can take a good look at that beautiful tower. And over there we have Magenta, which is now like a very posh kind of Italian, but they've done the facade with some new street art, which I actually think looks really cool. So I wanted to show you that. As you can see, there is a lot of construction work because this whole area is being renovated again. It brings not just with the development that we've had, with Harry Potter, because this area has now attracted a lot of tourists that are interested in that kind of stuff. There is, in fact, the official Harry Potter shop here on the other side of the train station. But with the creative students coming over to this side of the city, it just needs a little bit of a lift, essentially. And yes, this is honky, you love cheese. Yes, I know they did look really good. I'm not normally a big fan of cheddar. I must say this out loud, but it's uh, it's definitely one that looked particularly nice. And well, I'm gonna get you to see the tower properly once we're in the square itself. But here you get a little slice of that lovely Victorian architecture. But London traffic and pedestrian crossings can be an absolute nightmare. So at some point we'll be able to cross, I promise. Even if it's just by the fact of making critical mass and actually getting across, which is actually what people are doing. They don't care. They are just going. So we go. This is the thing in London. You just uh, you just do what the Londoners do. And there must have happened something quite big because as we were coming out of King's Cross, there was a big police van, and now they've just been two sort of incognito police cars. So I suspect something's happened. Right, okay, well, we are just getting up the stairs. Bear with me because there's a fair few of them. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to get sort of to the center of the square, and then you're going to be able to see all of this. So let's point the camera there until I find my spot, because I was actually testing it earlier. And just so you can see the proper entranceway into St. Pancras International Station. And they are after me. My goodness, no, I hope not. Because, yeah, I can't be taken away today. They need to wait. They need to wait. It's gonna have to be tomorrow. I can't handle that kind of pressure right now. I'm actually freaking out. Because it's it's quite a busy day, and I don't know how this paper is gonna go. I'm so sure I'm gonna tank it. That I'm already in a completely different mental space. And yes, they've it's quite hard getting into these roads without clashing onto someone. But let me see if we can do a proper 180 here. Yes, I have to give the talk first, and they can take me. Right. So I'm gonna take you to the top first, so you can see these beautiful Victorian columns. Bear in mind that, of course, St. Pancras has been renovated. And by the way, because I know people are going to ask, it's not just the train station. The area that I'm pointing at right now belongs to the hotel, and there is actually a series of apartments that are stuck on top of the station itself. Oh, can you hear me now? Is the sound working? Is it not? Is it is it dead? Is it properly dead? Testing, testing, testing. Can someone let me know if you can hear me? Yeah, you can hear me now? Okay, I think something happened. Sound off. Can hear now. Yes, you're back. Okay, I think I must have accidentally. Okay, I think I know. I think I know what's happening, guys. There is some interference, and my microphone is now being disconnected by whatever else is here. So in any case, I need to stop because I need to go give my talk. So I'm gonna turn the camera, but I hope that you've enjoyed what we've seen. You can hear me. I don't know if you can, but anyway, I'm very sorry. There has been a lot of technical difficulties today. I don't know why this is not being my day in between YouTube, the microphone not connecting properly, etc., etc. But anyway, I hope that the few bits that we've been able to see, you